Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Speaking About Speaking. And this week, you've just got me, just me all on my own. And I really wanted to talk this week about worrying and how we don't have to worry about worrying, or do we? It's something that we all do, no matter where we are speaking. Whenever we speak, wherever we speak, we are speaking. We are public speaking. So everybody has this kind of voice in their head that worries. And when I am speaking with the stunt trainees that I teach a 5-day course with another couple of fabulous tutors, Peter Ferris, who's with me on a Monday morning, always we sit with the guys in a circle and say, right. And he says, don't worry about worrying. And it wasn't something that I'd ever really thought about before, but actually it's just so simple, isn't it? And it's so easy to say. But when you understand that it's something that we all worry about, then it makes life slightly easier. Hi, Mark. Lovely to have you here. So Mark says, good topic. Other meeting moves are here now. Oh, fantastic. I might even invite you up. Perhaps I'll send you the link and you can come on up in a minute. But let me get started and we'll get on to what I wanted to speak to Mark about a bit later on. So the whole thing about worrying, the whole thing about not being worried about worrying. When we start the acting course and the guys are all sitting there, they've come into the room with us as athletes, as performers, but not as speakers, not as actors. So we have to really get them into a place where they're not worried. Then they are able to throw off their inhibitions and actually just play and become the characters and do the things that we expect them to do in the 5 days. And by the end of that 5 days, they are still anxious, they are still worried, but nowhere near as much. They know that everybody else is in the same situation. And if they are worrying, they are not the only person. And they don't have to worry about it. It is what it is. Excitement and anxiety, as I've said many times before, are exactly the same feeling that physically in our bodies, they are the same feeling. So excitement and anxiety are both aroused emotions. So both set off the stress hormone cortisol and they send it surging around the body and our heart beats faster. We get a little bit sweaty in the palms, but it is exactly the same physical reaction in both cases. So how does that work? How does that help you? Well, if you can switch your mindset from feeling anxious and that feeling that something bad is going to happen to realizing that actually that feeling you get could be the fact that you're excited, you're expecting something good is going to happen. So every emotion that we have has a purpose, and anxiety is also something that we need to have. It's for our fight and flight. It goes back to our survival mode, doesn't it? When we are in a situation where we're faced with something that's life-threatening, we feel anxious, we get stressed, and that is what we need. If we didn't have that feeling, if we didn't have that emotion, then we could be in danger. So don't think that you will ever get rid of that anxiety. You don't want to. It means that you care. It means that something important is going on. So understand that actually everybody feels that, and everybody has that feeling of anxiety, and it's not something that you should ever want to get rid of. Use it as your power and your energy. I mean, it's our emotional response to fear and discomfort. And when we feel fear and discomfort, what it does, it means that we want to run away and we want to feel comfortable again. So we go back to our comfort zones. And actually, when we go back into our comfort zone, that's where we feel comfortable, obviously, but that's where we stagnate. We don't move anywhere else. We don't grow, we don't transform. In order to grow and transform in your personal life as well as your business life, you need to step outside that comfort zone. You need to feel those uncomfortable feelings and sit with them for a while. Understand that they are there to help you, to make sure that you know that actually what you're doing is good for you. It's getting you into a place where you will begin to grow. So I've had several instances this week, and this is where Mark comes in. So I will send you the link, Mark, any minute now. But firstly, this came up when a friend of mine came to stay at the weekend, and her daughter is let me just send this over to Mark. Her daughter is going for a new job, is starting a new job this week, and she was going for an induction day before yesterday, I think it was, or on Saturday. And actually she was really, really anxious. My friend had come down to stay with me, and she's 21 years old, her daughter, and she called on the evening before she was due to go in, and was obviously wanted to speak to her mum and saying how anxious she felt. And thankfully enough, her mother is an art therapist. So her mother is a psychotherapist. And I could hear her on the phone saying to her daughter, actually, this is a normal feeling. Everybody feels anxious. And this is something that you won't get rid of, but you have to get used to. And it made me think that actually this was the first time that her daughter had really had this feeling. She'd never been in this situation before. And what happens as we grow up and as we come across these instances and these situations that we've never been in before, and we don't quite know how to negotiate them, and they do make us feel anxious. So just go with that feeling and understand that you will feel anxious. I am trying to find Mark on on LinkedIn so I can send this link to him. So just bear with me while I do that. Let me see if I can put that in there. It's not coming up right now. I think there's too much going on. There's too much going on my. There's too much going on with my Wi-Fi. So I can't actually send anything else. So apologies for that. But we've got a comment here from Liam that says, love those sorts on anxiety as having purpose, Jackie. If we could turn it off, perhaps it would dampen our creativity and our drive. Absolutely right, Liam. That it is absolutely what gives us our energy and gives us that impetus to carry on, and the excitement that we need to be creative. And what I was also getting onto, so yeah, going back to the children and the teenagers. When we are young, we are doing things for the first time all of the time, and those anxieties and those issues of worrying will come up with every new step we take. It's the same as when we're adults. We are moving into different spaces, different situations that will bring up those feelings of anxiety. But know they are normal. Know that they are going to happen, and that you need to embrace them and to use them, because they show you care, they show you are growing, they show you are transforming and taking on the next step and moving into the next stage. And then the other thing that the next thing that I'd been looking at was that last year I worked with a guy that had a wedding speech to do. His daughter was getting married, and he was petrified of making this speech. And so he came to me about 6 months before his daughter's wedding, and said, I really need help. I can't do this. I really can't do this. And so we worked together over 6 months to get him to a place where he felt comfortable and confident actually speaking to an audience of family and friends. And you would think that that was a nice position to be in, a nice space to be in. But so many people seem to be more nervous about speaking to a group of family and friends than they do speaking to strangers. So when you are in, and he had been worrying about that for like 27 years. His daughter was 27 years old. And so from the moment she was born, he had started worrying about the fact that he would have to give this speech. But of course, it's normal because for him, that was going to be one of the most important days of his life. He had looked after, nurtured, and watched his daughter grow from a child to an adult, and he wanted so much to put everything into that speech. And of course, that made it so important that the nerves just overtook him. He didn't know where to start. And we went through the stories that he could tell. We decided what kind of shape and what kind of journey his speech should take in order to make sure he did everything that he was meant to do within that speech. And it's the same with your best man speech, your best woman speech, anybody that has to get up in front of family and friends and be vulnerable. And that's kind of what you have to do, especially when you're in the wedding space and you're in front of people that know and love you. They are on your side. Know that even when you are in front of strangers, the audience want to have a good time, no matter whether they know you or they don't know you. They want to have a good time. So know they are on your side. They want you to succeed. So do what you can to prepare and practice and make sure that you feel comfortable with your content so that when you step in front of that audience, whether you know them or you don't know them, whether you have, and we always have something at stake when we step in front of an audience and start speaking. But that's why you need to really practice and prepare. And when you become comfortable and confident and happy with your content, then that's when your audience will also be comfortable and confident with you as a speaker as well. Hello, Ricky. Ricky Locke is here. So lovely to see you, Ricky. And Mark is asking, can you share a big bit of advice if someone is nervous about going to an event with hundreds of people to a work event, i.e. Creator Day? Well, yes, Mark, that brings me quite neatly on to the next thing that I'd come across this week, which came out of me listening and falling down a rabbit hole of podcasts that were created for You Are the Media and with Creator Day in mind. So for those of you that don't know what that is, You Are the Media is a community that I belong to down on the South Coast, but with a global community, but based down in Poole. And every year, Mark Masters puts on Creator Day. I say every year. This is the third year, I think, fourth year. Mark, you'll have to correct me on that. We've got it coming up next week. And so in order for people to feel comfortable walking into that space with strangers, and I think there's going to be something like 200 people there, so that people can walk in and recognize other people so that they don't feel uncomfortable, that they feel like they can walk into that space and feel like they're at home. They can introduce themselves. They can speak to people that they've never physically met before. Mark created the Creator Day podcast, the You Are the Media podcast. And I was listening to that, and I listened to about 3 or 4 in a row, actually. And there were several things that came out of it. And this is why I wanted to get you on, Mark. I wanted to get you up here, but unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. But the first thing was this thing about, when you walk into a space where there's lots of people you don't know, and it feels very cliquey, and you can see groups of people, where do you go? Where do you walk up to a group of people and just hope that they include you? Do you walk over to the person in the corner hiding behind their phone? Or do you go and find a corner and hide behind your phone? So there were several things that came up, and obviously the main one being that, Mark, you have created this atmosphere where people are happy to open up and share who they are and what they do through the podcast, through the WhatsApp group, all of those things. So by the time we arrive in Poole by the seaside on the 25th of April for Creator Day, we will all feel really, really comfortable. But I was listening to a couple of people talking about how you can get comfortable in that space. And the one that I loved from Tim Lewis, he said, if you walk into that space and you see several groups of people, check them out and look at the one where there might be an odd person that's looking bored. And I love that because he said, if you go over to that group, that bored person will latch onto you and be very, very happy to talk to you. So I loved that piece of advice. So thank you for that, Tim. The other one was from Trisha Lewis, who I know very well. And Trisha was talking about being curious. And so when you do approach people and you do start having conversations, ask some questions. So don't sort of make it all about you and feel that you have to be the one that gives your 60-second elevator pitch. Just start a conversation. Just ask a question. How did you get here today? What did you have for breakfast? Anything you like, but just be curious. When you are open and curious, then automatically people want to be your friend because you are talking, you want to listen to them. And when you listen to people, then it really makes them feel like they are important to you, in which case they will reciprocate 9 times out of 10 and they will start asking you questions. And then you can just continue conversation. So be curious, ask questions. And then there was another little nugget that kind of came from Shelley, but came from Shelley Rosland, who I am working with, is doing a talk for Creator Day and will be on the stage. And she's going to be talking about being more you more of the time. And so together we've kind of picked out the stories and the reason why Shelley is talking about that. And she was saying on the podcast that she was talking to Mark on was about being honest and telling your stories. And this is something that I say to all of my clients is when you tell your own story, you can't get caught out. So make sure you're being honest and authentic when you're speaking to people, because if you're trying to be someone that you're not, or someone that other people expect you to be, then you're not being totally honest. And that's when you'll feel nervous because you'll be afraid that you'll be caught out. So tell your own stories. You can't get caught out that way. And then, another lovely one from Ben Franklin. Ben is part of Mark and You Are the Media's Creator Lab, where Mark goes into Bournemouth and Poole College and works with the young people there. And Ben Franklin has just graduated from digital marketing apprenticeship, I think. You might have to correct me on that. But he is, this will be his first Creator Day, and Mark has enlisted him as a helper. So he'll be, as people arrive on the morning, Ben will be there as someone that can welcome people to the space. And Ben was saying how that makes him feel less nervous because he has a purpose. And I think that's something that's really important for all of us, is that when you have a reason to be there, when you have a reason to talk to people, then it takes the nerves away from you, because it's not about you, it's about them. So when you are thinking of other people, or when you are there to add value and to help, then that takes the onus off you, and you can then become less nervous and more helpful, obviously. And then the last one on that sort of around the podcast was Joanne Young, who has been along to my speaker club, as has Mark and several of the other, and Liam has been along there too. So yeah, the speaker club that I run in person in Southbourne once a month, Joanne has been along to that for a few sessions now, and she was saying how that had helped her become more playful. And so during the speaker club, from obviously working as an actor back in the day and doing an actor's training, we used to do lots of improvisation. And it's something that I think is beneficial to everybody. And when I say to people, we're going to do some improvisation, they want the floor to open and swallow them up, because it feels icky. It doesn't feel comfortable. It's really is one of those things where you have to step outside your comfort zone. But I do these little exercises, these little improvisation pieces, get the guys to do at the speaker club, because it breaks down barriers. It gets rid of some inhibitions that we have around making a fool of ourselves. And not that I'm saying that we all need to go out and make a fool of ourselves, but when you get used to playing and making it up as you go along, your energy increases and your sense of playfulness and curiosity increases. And so when you do these exercises regularly, they really kind of open up your brain. And I think there's a psychiatrist and is a play researcher called Dr. Stuart Brown, Professor Stuart Brown, who says nothing lights up the brain like play. And as we get older, we forget to play. And so at the speaker club, we do stupid things at the beginning, and I get them to do these improv exercises, and they laugh. Everybody laughs. It's fun. And so Joanne was saying this has actually helped her, because when she's now in situations where she walks into a room of strangers, she brings that sense of playfulness, that sense of curiosity, which makes it easier to talk to strangers and being in a room, and being curious and actually feeling more comfortable. So what do you do to get yourself feeling comfortable in those sort of situations? If there's anybody out there, I'd love to know, if you're out there listening right now, tell me what it is that makes you feel better in those situations. Makes you feel better when either you walk into a room full of strangers, or you walk into a party and there's people there you don't know. It might be that you're at a wedding, you have a speech to make. Is there anything that makes you feel more comfortable? Just stick it in the comments if you've got anything that you'd like to add, or tell us about how you make yourself feel more comfortable or more confident in those situations. I mean, certainly as part of the speaker club, and when I'm working one-on-one with clients and in teams as well, I go through breathing exercises. And actually, the blog that I've written and posted today, with John Hancock, the father of the bride, he in his case study that I did with him, and the feedback that he gave me, he said the warm up and the breathing exercises that we do were incredibly important to him. And they are. I think we hold so much tension across our shoulders and in our neck and across our back, that to actually just roll your shoulders back and do exercises just to warm up the top of your body and your neck, and warm up your face by doing these exercises. I'll put links to these exercises in the show notes afterwards, so that you can go and have a look at these. Because if you can warm yourself up, if you can do some breathing exercises, then it really gets you into focus. It gets those butterflies into formation, as I've heard said before. So try the warm up and the breathing. Hi, Katie. Nice to have you here. Katie says, I had a bit of a thing with my accent for a while. I only ever wanted to open my mouth once I knew I had a perfect British accent. Today, I remember that any accent is just a badge of bravery. I love that, Katie. A badge of bravery. Katie, if I remember rightly, you are German. Is that right? And from what I remember, you have a lovely accent. And actually, they're part of your identity, aren't they? I have had several people that I've worked with accents, and that they want to get rid of. And they'll ask, how do I get rid of my accent? And I say, why? Why would you want to get rid of part of you? It is what makes you you. It's part of your identity. So don't try to get rid of your accent. Obviously, if it's hard for you to be understood, then perhaps you need to soften it or just work a little bit more on your clarity. But accents are so, they're so individual. They're like a fingerprint. Nobody, there are regional accents, and you can tell maybe from where people are from, but the way we speak is individual to everybody. So don't be frightened of your accent. Just embrace it and love it. Thank you for that, Katie. That's lovely. Yeah. Um, Also, the superposing. I don't know if any of you have seen Amy Cuddy's TED talk about posing and these kind of superpower poses, and it really resonates with me because this is an exercise that you do with my actors all the time, and it's around status, and it's around how you hold yourself to make yourself feel confident. So I say to the acting trainees, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is the most confident you can feel, and 1 is the least confident you can feel. So let's go through 1 to 10, and we kind of name either characters or professions or whatever, some that are really we feel where people are more confident and where we feel people are less confident. And then I call out numbers, and people walk around the space inhabiting that number. So if I call out a number 8, then you can see from walking just like themselves that suddenly they stand a little bit straighter, that their shoulders go back, that their head goes up. And obviously that exaggerates as you get further up the scale. So once you get to a 10, then yes, the shoulders are back, the chest is out, the head is up, and the nose is kind of, leading. And quite often I'll say to people, what is your status? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're a 1, where you're quite your shoulders are rounded in, you feel like you've got no self-esteem, you're very low on confidence? And you'll find that people walk slower. If I call out a 2 or a 1, then their pace slows down, their energy drops, their shoulders roll in, their head comes down, they look at the floor. So just on that scale of 1 to 10, how you hold yourself and how you enter a room is up to you. So just know that actually, if you want to be confident, if you want to feel confident, then use those superpower poses. And if you watch Amy Cuddy's TED talk, she talks about it literally only takes 2 minutes of posing like that. And I would recommend maybe doing that in the loo before you go in anywhere, not in public, because it does look a bit strange. But if you can do that, it only takes about 2 minutes for your brain to recalibrate. And she's proven it. I can't remember what the research is, but watch it, because it's proven that actually that superposing really does change your brains and your neural pathways to give you that more of that confidence. So it's not fake it till you make it, but it's be it until you become it. So just begin feeling more confident, and remember that scale of 1 to 10, and see if that helps you when you go into different spaces. Just before we wrap up, let me think. What have I got here? I did watch a couple of other TED Talks, one by Tim Box, which was great. And I'll put he has an analogy about your conscious and your subconscious, and how the conscious mind is the captain of your ship. That's the logic, and the subconscious mind is the crew of your ship, and that's where all of the emotions are. And those are the ones that's where your anxiety lies, and how you have to speak to your crew kindly, and don't beat them up, because that's when the anxiety really comes to the fore. So treat your crew kindly. There's a fabulous quote. What was that quote? What was it? It was about the ship. Have you seen that one? Oh, a ship. This is from an American author and businessman, John A. Shedd, and I love this. A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. So yeah, I love that. If you if you are in your comfort zone and you stay in your comfort zone, you are going to miss out on so many opportunities. So be brave and step out of your comfort zone. Cicero says, confidence comes from a trust in oneself. So once you are confident and comfortable in your own story and who you are, then you'll find the confidence will come through to all of your social situations. But understand that the anxiety that you feel is normal. Okay. You won't get rid of it and you shouldn't want to get rid of it because it shows that you care and it shows you what's important in your life. So learn how to work with it and embrace it. Well, that's my 30 minutes up. So if you have any questions, any last questions, then quickly put them in the chat now. If not, I will say goodbye. If you are watching the replay, then do feel that you can ask me a question, ask me anything. If you've got any comments that you want to make about this particular episode, then do. I will put all of the links that I've spoken about in the show notes after this episode. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Very excitingly, next week, I've got the fabulous Philip Dorr. And Philip was the former CFO of Gymshark. And so I'm really, really excited to speak to him about Gymshark and what the work he did there with them and the fabulous work he's gone on to be doing now. So that's next Tuesday, the 23rd, with Philip Dorr. If you want to get in touch with me, then you can go to powertospeak.co.uk and you can find all of my services there. Also the blogs. So the blog there about Father of the Bride and the case study of John Hancock is the new one on there. So please go and search that out. If you want to find out more about Creator Day, this is actually the link, which is quite a long link. You can go to youarethemedia.co.uk and find out about Creator Day there and join us next week. I'm going to be speaking at Failed Nights, which is the event the night before put on by Matthew Denier, and I will be speaking about my failure to win an Oscar and become an outstanding acting performer. So yeah, if you'd like to find out more about Creator Day, then head there. But that's it for today. And thank you so much for everybody that's been here and that's listened and watched. And I'll see you next week. Bye.